Well, we're in my shed with the Subaru with a missing part. Well, a few missing parts. Luke?
Something old and broken in here. And I'm not talking about me.
Yeah. I now have two 3-litre flat six engines.
Two engines sat in the shed. I can see, is that the new one?
That is the new one.
That's the new one, and
the old one's over there, looking very sorry for itself.
Yeah, so explain when did you realise this may need a new engine? What was the first inkling of this is bad?
It didn't need a new engine, it needs new heads. It needs the heads
So what are the heads for?
Head gaskets.
The head gasket. Common.
So the
Subaru
gaskets
problem.
on the heads. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, compression wasn't correct.
Yeah.
Which meant that basically it didn't like to stay cold. Got lots of air in the fluid, in the water, and didn't like to stay cold. Overheats a lot. So decided that it'd be more fun, cheaper, and a better experience to buy a second engine and put that in instead.
So it's almost worth just getting a new engine instead of fixing what's already there, unless you know what you're doing. What would you say is cheaper? What would you recommend to people who are going through this issue? Get the full engine out and replace it,
or get the heads done.
Well,
to get the heads done, you've got to take the engine out anyway.
Right.
And the cost of getting the heads done professionally and pressure tested and everything makes buying a second-hand engine that works a cheaper option.
Right.
Generally.
Okay.
Unless you've got the tools and equipment and expertise to do it yourself, in which case you wouldn't even be thinking about watching this video.
Yeah. But you took a good route with it, where you went to trusted breaker.
Yeah, I went to some mates to check out my previous engine, and they pretty much concurred with me that 90% sure that it was the heads that are the cause of the overheating and everything else that was going on with the car. So they were the ones that said, well, your options are get the heads done or engine. So I went and got an engine.
Good.
From the internet.
And you...
Nice and cheap.
Yeah.
Almost the cheapest one I could find. Didn't go for the cheapest one I could find because that was in a different country. Didn't really fancy the shipping fees.
Oh really? So there was another one you're eyeing up.
Plenty of options for the 3-litre flat sixes.
And it's a direct.
So it came out in the Tribecas, Outbacks, Legacies.
Right.
And they came with the manuals and autos. Most of them came with the auto boxes. So the engine I've got over there, the new one, that came with an auto box in the original car, which was a Legacy. Could have been another one. But yeah, it was a Legacy. So there's, I think it's called the friction plate or something. It's a big disc that sat on the back of the engine. We'll get a shot of that. Got to take that off.
Right.
To then install the clutch and flywheel from my engine. Checked over. It looks okay. It's usable. Don't really have the funds at the moment to replace those. Otherwise, I would, because this is a perfect opportunity. If you do decide to take the engine out of your car, replace the clutch and flywheel at the same time. Save up and do it. It'll save you a lot of money and a lot of hassle in the long run.
So it's obviously a direct swap. You've taken out that engine and you can put the new one in. What was it like taking that engine out? What were the challenges you faced? So
it was actually pretty straightforward. The hardest part was actually moving the engine out from the bay itself, using an engine crane and a little bit of guidance from some mates just to wiggle it out, get it away from the gearbox and up and out of the car. Apart from that, it's just a matter of disconnecting hoses, taking out a few bolts, all the auxiliary stuff from the front of the engine, the inlet manifold from the top, along with the throttle body, which you can see behind us there.
Yeah, very serviceable, that throttle body. It surprises me.
It really is. Much better than Volvo's, isn't it?
Compared to my T5, that is very nice and accessible.
Yeah, so, Good, isn't it, Subarus?
You know what?
They're really
it's grown
simple.
on me until the last time I was in it, as the video, well, I have some video I'll put in, is when it was not having too much of a good time, and we had to take it home. But you took me for a nice drive in it, and it was very enjoyable. And I'm glad that you are already very much on the way to getting this thing back on the road, back to doing burnouts.
Doing burnouts?
Yeah.
I wish. No, I'm not going to be doing that. I
Four-wheel
want to actually
drive
save
burnouts.
my clutch and my transmission.
So, is it a new clutch and flywheel you're putting in?
No, it's old ones. It came out of my original car.
Oh right, so you're swapping them over.
Yeah.
So,
just because of cost.
yeah, just take me through the whole process,
Yeah.
and then because then I can cut to some B-roll for that. So
that's what we've done just now. I've got all that B-roll done. So, Subaru engine removal time. First of all, I've taken out the battery, and then we start removing all this. So I'm going to start off with all the auxiliary stuff over here, remove the airbox. Then I've also relieved the pressure on the fuel system, and we'll remove the fuel lines. So airbox is off. Last piece of that is here, which has two 10mm bolts, one over there, one down there, and a further little 10mm bolt right up there. So we'll get that out, and there'll be even more room to play with. After removing the airbox, I'm now going to remove the fuel lines from here, pull those out the way. Now the fuel lines are disconnected, I'm going to drain the coolant and then drop the radiator out.
So the auxiliary bolt's now off, and we're going to remove all the other gear here. So tensioner, pulley, power steering pump, AC, and the alternator. That'll all come off. We're going to move the power steering pump out to the side, and then we're going to move the AC to the other side.
So all the auxiliary stuff is off. We've got one pump over here, got the aircon over here, got my alternator over there with the idler pulley and the tensioner. And then back down here we're going to next remove the starter motor, which is here. I think there's about 3 bolts holding it on, 1, 2 and 3. 2 hours later, finally got the starter motor out. Actually just 2 bolts in it. And then one that's holding the electrical connector on the back. That was it, 2 bolts. But as you can see, I was stood on top of the manifold using an assortment of tools to try and get it off. And we did it. Started around that one, so I might rotate them around, put the good one on the bottom where it's hard to reach, and put the bad one on the top where it's nice and easy to reach. Or I might get another one because they're different length. Don't like it. Next I'm going to disconnect the ECU, take that pipe off, take the other cooling pipes off on the other side, and then try and take the manifold off. Inlet manifold, that is. Usually on the engine swap you wouldn't actually have to change or take off the manifolds, but because this one's on LPG, hence the extra plumbing and wiring, I will be taking this one off to put it on the new engine as soon as we get that in. So now I'm going to repeat the process I've just done on that one. I've taken the manifold off, so I'll undo the bolts along each bank. Then it'll be electrical connectors, this one over there, and there's a few more dotted around the place. Around the back there's a few other hoses like that one there, and I will also be unbolting the injector rails, so the fuel line will come out with the manifold. Hopefully there'll be enough room then to flip it back over to get to the rest of the engine. Now I've loosened the bolts that's holding this, the LPG injectors on, and also the one bracket, well, one bolt holding this bracket, so that I can lift this up to give me more room to get into the connectors for the injectors, 1, 2 and 3. And then once I've done that, snipped a couple of places for the wire, and lifted this up and pulled the injector wiring out. So it's now free. can go sit down the side. LPG injectors are semi-free as well, so that might help when manoeuvring the whole manifold and LPG system, which is going to be fun. So I've disconnected all of those, and the 2 fuel line bolts at the back that takes it down that way, and the manifold is now loose. I've also undone the earth on the front left of the engine. I'm going to have to disconnect the LPG on there so that I can get it separate from the aircon. And we're back with the manifold off. There's plenty of fuel left in the fuel rail still, so that leaked all over the heads. Probably gonna have to replace these little gaskets because quite brittle. It might do, we shall see. The straws for the LPG and stuff are rock solid. They're supposed to be a bit flexible, but obviously that's been cooked over time. I've had to also disconnect the LPG lines to this bank because of the air compressor, aircon stuff going down there. So next I'm going to take all this loom out of this one and put it on that one. At least that's the plan. So I was going to get all the wires out from here, the engine loom. However, I'm going to wait until it comes out because of the coil packs. They're obviously all plugged in. It's a little bit of a ball ache to get in there. I might give it a go, but probably just wait until I've got the engine out to do the harness swap over. So I've also gone under and made sure that both grounds have been disconnected from either side of the engine. So there's one down this side. See it there. There's another one opposite side, just mirror image. Soaked the exhaust bolt, manifold bolts underneath with penetrant, so hopefully when it comes to taking them off it won't be as difficult. However, the left side, it looks like they will have to be cut off because they are rusted as. So yeah, that'll be fun for another day. So to finish off today, I've removed all the auxiliary stuff and switched over a few bolts that look better. And I'm going to use this alternator off this engine. That's my old one. This one just squeaked a little bit. Don't know if you can hear it or not. There's this one, is a bit quieter. That's my old starter. I've got a new starter coming. Serpentine belt or auxiliary belt, whatever you want to call it. That is my pretty new one that I had on my car. Tensioner, pulley. Gonna keep those. That's the old tensioner and pulley off this engine. Mine are newer, so I'll keep those. So yeah, that's today. So yeah, now we're at the point where new engine's going to go in. You can see above us we have the inlet manifold with the fuel rails and injectors. I've switched over the injectors from the new engine that came on that because that came with the inlet manifold and everything attached.
And did you take the LPG injectors off the old one to put on the new one?
No. LPG injectors are staying on that manifold there. It's all plumbed in, so I'm just not budging any of it. That's why it's still there. Because the LPG system's on the car, it made it a lot more difficult than it would if it was petrol, just straight petrol.
Yeah.
So that's all plumbed into the manifold, so that's why I flipped it up there. LPG injectors are staying, petrol injectors are from the new engine.
Yeah.
Because my old ones were a little bit cruddy. The rubber seals have started to go. So I thought, now's a good time, switch those out. I got myself some new LPG spark plugs. You are meant to change those quite regularly. And, just the regular spark plugs. Yeah, just the regular.
But we had the same on the Volvo.
Iridium spark plugs, and the coil packs from the new engine have also been put on as well. So I'll take those off, put them back on, along with the loom from my old engine. Now, I switched over the loom from my old engine onto my new one because when my new one turned up, the rats had decided that wires are tasty.
Chewy wires.
So that was a lot of extra work that didn't need to happen, but it was necessary.
Well, basically it's a while you're there job. Before this engine goes back in, you want to make sure that
everything's done.
Yeah,
so
all the stuff you can you're like, oh, I can do that. You sort of do it because when that engine's back in, and then you have a wiring issue, or you have a clutch issue or a flywheel issue, it's there's more chance of it lasting if you sort of go over it before it goes back in.
I want it to work when I put my engine in.
Yeah.
That's why I'm going to so much trouble to make sure everything's correct, basically. In a nutshell, that 2-minute dialogue you just gave.
What, mine or yours?
Yours.
Oh, good. 2 minute?
Yeah. No, it's 10 seconds, actually. Anyway, so whilst I was in here, I saw that the bonnet catch, that was getting a bit stiff, so I've taken that out, put it through my ultrasonic cleaner. Got some new grease on there.
Oh, the Temu one?
Yeah, Temu ultrasonic cleaner. Works, great. New grease on there, I'm going to put that back on as well. And it'll be engine back in. I've got a new hose.
A new hose?
I've got a new hose. I've got a bottom hose.
I can't say that on YouTube, new hose.
New hose, yes you can.
Where's the new hoses for what?
Bottom radiator hose.
Oh right, so no red hoses.
This engine, there's obviously got 2 banks because it's 6-cylinder inside, whereas the 4-cylinder Subaru engines just have 1 inlet hose,
right,
1 outlet hose. This, because it's got 2 banks, has 2 inlets, 1 outlet.
2 inlets, 1 outlet.
Yeah. So there's 3 hoses rather than 2.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
I also have a new radiator.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it's second hand, but it's new to me.
That's your AC compressor, that isn't your radiator, right?
Yeah, that's my AC unit.
So your
new radiator sat over there as well, against my old radiator. Slightly shinier than the new one is.
So the new radiator is another precautionary.
It is, yeah, because of the overheating issues, and I didn't know the life of that radiator. I decided that I'll get one that's only just been used for a little bit. I'll put that in, and hopefully it'll like to keep temperatures down a few degrees.
Yeah, just to cover all bases, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which
Whilst
is
it's out, just do it.
Yeah, and when the engine goes back in, what's the process of hooking it back to all the wiring in? Does it all just connect straight into the ECU, the regular ECU?
It's exactly how I took it out. Is the opposite of what I'm doing to put it back in. So we'll crane the engine back in to the hole, bolt it back up to the gearbox, and the engine mounts at the bottom. Then we will put the manifold. No, before we do the manifold, the inlet manifold that is, we will plug the electrics back in. Then we'll put the manifold on top. Then we will put the radiator back in, and we'll also put the auxiliary stuff on the front, so your alternator, AC, that sort of stuff. That'll all go on.
And new pulleys and all that kind of... Well, new serpentine.
No, because the one I had on there previously, on my old engine, had only been on there for about a month before...
Oh, right, okay.
Before I decided
I remember
the engine's
you
no
changed
good.
it,
Yeah, because I was holidaying up in North Wales, and just as I got there, the tensioner decided it had enough, and just shattered, fell off my car, and...
it went on a holiday of its own.
It did.
It went on a holiday of its own.
Yeah, it was like, nah, I'm out of here. Didn't like it. So yeah, I've got new tensioner, pulley and belt. I'm also taking the alternator off my new engine. It looks much newer, and the bearing on there seems to spin much freer. Doesn't make the whining noise that it did before.
Oh right, so you're pulling the alternator that you got off the new... You're putting the new alternator you got with the new engine instead of the old one.
Correct. I've also got myself a brand new starter motor because my old one was grinding quite bad.
I remember that.
Yeah, it gets when you try and turn the car on.
Not happy.
So yeah, when we put the engine back in, we put the new starter and all that stuff on, and I'm going to take the old starter. I'm going to try and take it apart and give it a service, clean it up, see if I can get it so it works properly again, because starters aren't cheap.
Really?
Yeah.
It's one of those
same sort of price as an alternator. They are.
Oh really?
Yeah, if not more.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I thought I'd give that a service, see if I can reuse it.
And is there any other old stuff of the engine that you've reused?
So I've already said about the loom of my
yeah.
old engine, tensioner, pulley, that sort of stuff. Otherwise, no. It's all the new engine. Taking the bolts out from the old engine. I'm keeping those because my new one didn't come with the bolts. Brought it back up to the transmission.
And this is going in the garbage.
No, it's not.
Is it not?
No.
No.
There are plans for that engine. Plans I won't discuss at the moment, but there are plans for it.
The one with the one with that?
Maybe one day.
That?
Maybe one day. When we've got some money.
When you have some money. And when
Yeah,
I have some money.
which won't happen because I'm going rallying.
Can you put some footage of your rallying in there?
We can.
In the video?
Yeah, I've got some of that.
I'll make some noises for you. Left here, right here, left here. Where have you gone? I thought we were doing rally noises.